Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering the issue going on regarding Bill Belichick. He has been named the UNC head coach. Interesting, interesting hiring there. We'll cover that. We'll also discuss the 49ers. They take on the Los Angeles Rams tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. A big game in determining which team can really battle it out with Seattle for that NFC West division title. We'll be talking about today's Champions League fixtures. There was a lot of interesting games in today's Champions League. So we'll do a roundup. Then we'll talk about the Ravens. They're currently sitting 2 games behind the Steelers. The Steelers right now have the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Ravens as well, with the victory earlier this season over the Ravens. We'll discuss whether or not the Ravens have a realistic outlook to catch them in terms of winning that division crown. And then we react to the NBA Cup quarterfinals. The semifinals has now been decided. We know our 2 matchups, the teams that are gonna head out to Vegas, and we'll be discussing those games. If you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes the show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that as well. Just use the super chat button at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your super chat gets read on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We really rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead and let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button, and let's keep the show as interactive and exciting as possible. If you prefer, you can always go to the gsmcpodcast.net to tip, donate, or leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We have to start off with Bill Belichick. He has been named head coach at UNC. Okay. So yes, Bill Belichick will be head coach of the UNC Tar Heels. It's not just speculation. It's not him speaking anymore. This is the real deal. He will be a head coach at UNC. The Tar Heels officially announced it as well, and Bill Belichick will be heading to Chapel Hill to replace. To become their head coach, they're filling their vacancy. Bill Belichick has a family history in terms of the UNC Chapel Hill. His father was part of a coaching staff with the Tar Heels. And in the 1950s, he was part of that coaching staff. He was an assistant coach with the Tar Heels. And Bill Belichick, he said, I am excited for the opportunity at UNC Chapel Hill. I grew up around college football with my dad and treasured those times. I've always wanted to coach in college, and now I look forward to building the football program in Chapel Hill. And, Bill Belichick, on the Pat McAfee show this morning, when discussing this, whether it was this morning or yesterday's morning, I forgot what it was. But when he would discuss the rumors that he's talked to UNC, I believe it was yesterday actually, when he was discussing the rumors that he spoke with UNC, Bill Belichick came out with a caveat saying, if I were to ever entertain college football, the college football program has to be an NFL ran program with NFL coaches, with NFL training, with NFL discipline, and something a place that can mold players to play either at the next level or to set themselves up to be successful after graduation. And looking at it at the surface level, you're probably thinking, okay, this is Bill Belichick's, setting a really, really high standard that just no college operation can live up to. So, a lot of people probably see that on the surface level thinking, okay, he's not going to go to a college job. But when you think about it more and more, that was a great recruiting pitch. A great recruiting pitch. I mean, the fact that, the way he said it as well, how it's mandatory for everything to be NFL ran. I think that's exactly what players want to hear. And we see a comment in the chat box. Do you think Belichick will be a good recruiter? Look, you ask some of his former players. When they ask Tom Brady, could he coach at college? They all say no. Bill Belichick is looked at to be that hard coach, almost a grumpy old man sort of coach. But you see, since he started moving to media, you see a little bit of a softer side, a more human side to Belichick that could allow him to connect with these college athletes a little bit better, or with these upcoming college athletes. There's that. There's also the gravitas of being recruited by the great Bill Belichick, someone who won 6 Super Bowls in the NFL. Someone that has proven that can win at the highest level, and knows what it takes for someone to be an NFL athlete. You're a top recruiter, and you understanding that UNC is they're trying to build this into an NFL program at the college football level. You're a top recruit. You're gonna have to think twice about it. And I think there's a human side to Belichick that we've seen of recently. I think he would be able to be a good recruiter. I think there's there's part of him that's charming enough that he could win over people here and there. I definitely believe that. Look, I do have to say though, overall, I am a little bit disappointed. I love NFL. Not the greatest college football fan. I appreciate college football and the passion of the fans and the rivalries and how it's a very passionate operation. But comparing that to the NFL, I mean, it is college football. I thought Bill Belichick had an opportunity, if he could go to another ready-make NFL team, to take this team deeper in the playoffs, I have to say. And maybe go on a run back to a Super Bowl. I thought Belichick, you look at the later Patriots, the problem was not the coaching. The problem was Bill Belichick, the GM. It was the player personnel. It was horrendous. The player personnel. They had no weapons. They had a quarterback who they drafted high up, but didn't really have the potential to really be worth how high they drafted him. And then they did all kind of things to mess up his development. Actually Belichick is to blame for that, hiring Matt Patricia as offensive coordinator, a defensive-minded coach. But as I was saying regarding Bill Belichick, the problem at New England was not the player personnel. It was was not the coaching. I thought they stayed competitive in games that they had no business staying competitive in under Bill Belichick. The problem was the players are not good enough. So I feel like if he went into a ready-make NFL team that already had talent and all he had to do was beat a coach, aka a Chicago Bear, which I thought was the perfect match made in heaven opportunity for him. I thought that was going to be absolutely golden. Instead of him, doing that. He wants to go the college football route. I understand there's family ties, and maybe he's looking at it. I've won 6 Super Bowls at the NFL level. I am the most successful head coach in NFL history. What I did, it'll be really, really hard for anybody to top. But, at the same time, yes, what he did will be really hard to stop, but he could have continued to add to that. But as I was saying, though, he realizes, he's done so much at the NFL level. Maybe he wants to have that sort of success he's had in the NFL level, the greatness that's bestowed when you say the name Bill Belichick in the NFL level. Maybe he wants to bring that greatness into college football. Maybe he's looking for this new challenge where, he doesn't want to deal with players being paid more than him and all these adults and all that. And he has a chance to, mold young men and get them at a level where they're potentially starting to play some NFL, football at a collegiate level and to prepare them for beyond. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'm surprised by that. I was a little heartbroken, but, life moves on. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss the 49ers-Rams Thursday night game.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed Bill Belichick being named the head coach at UNC. We move on to discuss the San Francisco 49ers. They are set to take on the Los Angeles Rams Thursday Night Football tomorrow. Really looking forward to it. The 49ers have a chance to extend their season. When I mean extend their season is, to play in meaningful, to make sure that they're playing in meaningful games down the stretch of the year. And really, an important game for them. They need that division win. The Rams is a direct team right above them, battling it out as well. And the 49ers, they're in a position right now, quite frankly. I believe there's a sense that the media is ignoring it, but the 49ers' chance of going to the playoffs is actually, pretty low, like really, really low. The 49ers, they can get in through two different ways. They either have to win the division, which Seattle right now is 2 games above them, and so, they're going to need help regarding Seattle opponents. Or the other way is the 49ers can catch the Commanders as the 7th seed. And, the Commanders, they're 8-5. They're 2 games above the 49ers. And the Commanders don't have, that much losable games. They play the Saints. Eagles, Falcons, Cowboys. And then even if they were able to catch up to the Commanders and they're a tie between the two, then it really comes down to, NFC conference tiebreaker, and Niners have had some rough NFC games. I don't know exactly what is the conference record, but the 49ers have to win to save their season. I mean, the 49ers have to win out. For any of those two likelihoods to happen of them catching up, the 49ers have to win out. And they play Detroit. So I answered your question. What are the realistic chances Niners actually make the playoffs? Probably like 3%. 3-4%. It's really, really low. And it's devastatingly low. As far as the Rams, I think Rams are in a firm position that they could easily win this division. With the fact that Seattle takes on the Vikings and the Commanders, and right now the Rams do have the tiebreaker over Seattle with the win they got over Seattle, and then Seattle comes into LA to play later on this season. I think the Rams do control their destiny actually. If they win out, they're winning the division because they'll have the tiebreaker over Seattle with that second division win, and then Seahawks will drop a game just based on that. So the Rams still control their own destiny, and that's a great thing to be able to do this late into the season. The 49ers cannot say the same. The 49ers can win out, and it's still realistic to think they're going to miss the playoffs. And that's a good element to show how good the NFC is right now. NFC is a pretty tough conference. You look even at the bottom of the NFC, you don't have much real bottom feeders. You have the Giants who, can make a game out of here and there. We saw Carolina, what they've been doing recently. The Bears are not, Bears are not good, but they're not horrible, even though they looked horrible against the 49ers. But, the Rams, they're a really, really good team. They have a balanced offense. Then they have Matt Stafford, who's playing ridiculously great football. Now that he has that dual threat of Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, with the combination of Matt Stafford throwing to them, who's just an absolute warrior, absolute dog in there. He's 36, and people tend to neglect him when they talk about the top quarterbacks in the NFC. But this is a guy, even right now, he'll make any throw that you ask him to do. He'll make the plays down the stretch. Despite them being injury prone, he's keeping them in games that they have no business keeping in games. He's throwing guys wide open. He's not being afraid to throw the shots when he needs to, even when the weapons have not been there. And I feel like there's always a belief with Matthew Stafford. Even when they went in, I believe they went into their bye week. They were around what? I believe they were 2-4. I have no idea actually. What were they? And going into their bye week, I'd have to check that. But their record was pretty atrocious. I think they were 1-4. Yeah, they were 1-4. And Stafford was on Fox that the weekend of the bye week after they won 1-4. It was a tough loss to the Packers. And the body language and his belief and confidence still remained really high, really remained the same. And that just defines Matthew Stafford, in my opinion. It's a good definition. It's a good way to define him. He won't let things get him too down. A lot of people would have collapsed in Detroit. But what he's been able to fight off, the resilience to now go into LA and win a Super Bowl and be battling for the playoffs year in and year out. He's a great quarterback, and he's going to cause the 49ers defense some issues, especially with how they can get the ball, how they find different ways to get Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp the ball. It's not just straight shots down the field. You saw the tunnel screen to seal the deal against the Bills. Things like that. Sean McVay's creativity against this 49ers. Also, something that the Rams could take advantage of, and their run game hasn't been elite this year, but they'll be able to run the ball on this Niners team. I think Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, they'll have their holes. They'll have their openings. This 49ers defense is a defense that's really struggled in terms of tackling of late, not including last week, but a few weeks before that. So there's that aspect to it. I think, as the key as the Rams defense is you limit Jawan Jennings. You limit Jawan Jennings. Jawan Jennings has been an absolutely beast this season, and him and George Kittle has been one of the few bright spots for the 49ers this season. You limit Jawan Jennings and George Kittle, you make that Niners offense extremely one-dimensional. The Niners offense is already without Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason, their number one, number two running backs. It's also looking like there's a really good chance that they'll be missing Isaiah Guerrero, their third running back, the rookie quarterback that came in to make an impact, with him suffering an injury in the previous game. So there's going to be an emphasis on guys like Jawan Jennings and George Kittle, because passing the balls can be very, very necessary. It's hard to survive in this league when you're down to running back number 4. Running back number 4, you never really tend to get there in the depth chart, and it seems like the 49ers are going to have to with the injuries they suffered at the running back position. And yeah, it's frustrating. It really is. It's really, really frustrating. So it's important for the Rams defense to hone in on Jawan Jennings, and on George Kittle. Those are two players, in my opinion, that are still game records for the 49ers. So they'll have to be worried about them. I have one last thing to say about the 49ers, but I'm mistaken my mind. But yeah, it's quite simple there. I think the fact that the Niners are at home, I expect the atmosphere to be ruckus. Again, everything's like a playoff game now for the 49ers. You saw after I believe it was a sack against the pair, or after the win or something like that against the Bears, Gres Matos came out on the sideline and said, first playoff dub. Seems like there's a collective amongst the 49ers locker room, 49ers coaching staff, that every game is a playoff game, and the desperation is high because, we have no room for error, and even if we don't make any error, we could still fail the test, and we could still not get in because of the fact that they need help. And the 49ers, they have to be major, they need to win this game, of course, and then they have to be major Packer fans on Sunday, because it's one thing to, not win your division. It's another thing to lose it to the freaking Seattle Seahawks. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss the today's Champions League fixtures.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we discussed the 49ers taking on the Los Angeles Rams. We move on to react to today's Champions League fixtures. Yeah, let's correct that. I don't know what's up with today's technical difficulties. It didn't save any of my titles. But yeah, today's Champions League fixtures. A lot of interesting ones. City's disappointing season, or run at least, really continues. Let's open it up. So, Stuttgart win over Young Boys, 5-1 win over Young Boys. Arsenal destroy Monaco, 3-0. Arsenal right now are sitting third in this Champions League, and they're looking like they're going to be in really good position to get one of those top 8 automatic spots, which could be enough for the which will be enough for them to not play unnecessary games in January as they look to, make a late season push for the title that seems like it's slipping away every dying moment. For Arsenal, you have Firewood 4-2 win over Sparta Praha. Milan 2-1 win over Crvena. Tammy Abraham with the winning goal in the 87th minute. Big goal for AC Milan. Not a strong start for them at this year's edition of the Champions League, but they've done a good job in being able to climb up to 12th now. It was 12 points, which is funny. 12th place, 12 points. But yeah, they started off pretty poorly in the Champions League, but they've reeled off wins, and now they're looking in really good position to get out. And that's all you could ask for, sometimes. Benfica, Bologna finished 0-0. Bologna, they're one of those, newcomers into the Champions League. They're just not that great in Serie A. They're sitting 8th. So they, when you're sitting low in your domestic league and you're a newcomer in the Champions League, you try to get the best out of that competition. And it seems like Bologna, they're just going to go home. They've not won a single game. They finished with 2 draws as well. Yeah. Lille, 3-2 win over Sturm Graz. Atletico Madrid, they got a 3-1 win over Slovan Bratislava. Slovan Bratislava. Atletico Madrid, they have also got off to a pretty rough start in the Champions League, but they've done a good job to be able to climb themselves back to 11th place now with 12 points. You go back, you remember that pounding that Atletico Madrid suffered? I believe it was to Benfica. And then now what they are right now, really competing, for a potential, top 8 position. They're not that far off. They're only 1 point off top 8. And they played a good game, by the way, against Slovan Bratislava. They limited what Slovan Bratislava was able to do, obviously going away to Riyadh at Air Metropolitano and to get a result. When you're Slovan Bratislava, it's really, really hard. Really, really hard. It was Atletico Madrid that actually opened the scoring through Griezmann in the 42nd minute. They scored a penalty early on the second half before Griezmann, doubled Arsenal the lead with the second goal. This time in the 40. Well, no. So Madrid had the 2-0 lead. Then the penalty came. Had a goal from Alvarez in the 18th minute, then a second goal to make it 2-0 heading into halftime in the 42nd minute. Strelic for Bratislava gives them the penalty to cut the deficit into half before it was eventually sealed the deal by Griezmann again in the 57th minute. It was interesting how Atletico Madrid was going to line up at the back. This time around, you saw Jimenez and Langley, which is a partnership we haven't seen much as well. Llorente and Xavi Galen in that back four. I always said they need cohesion in that back line, especially amongst the center back partnership. We don't really get that much with Atletico Madrid because they're always mixing and matching, especially with their front three. There's no real cohesion because they're always mixing and matching. He's trying to fit in new signings in Julian Alvarez and Dovbik, but also be able to match in the likes of his name is mistaken me. Yeah, his name is mistaken me. This time it was Griezmann and Julian Alvarez that played in the two up top. Oh, Sorloth. Not Dovbik. Dovbik is actually at Roma. I've been trying to say Dovbik. I've been saying Dovbik the whole time. He's at Roma. Sorloth. They've been trying to make it work, but it's been a little bit difficult, I have to say. So yeah, they need to get some more cohesion amongst that front, that attacking display. Where should I start off? So it was really two big games in this one. Dortmund, Barcelona, Juventus City. Barcelona, they continue to be on the right side, and it was a fun back and forth game with this one. Rafinha, who's been an all-star based on how the season has gone, legitimate Ballon d'Or candidate, opened up the scoring in the 52nd minute before Guirassy equalized from the spot in the 60th minute. Torres is able to finally get that breakthrough for Barcelona. Then Sergio Guirassy for Borussia Dortmund, he was able to not only equalize from that goal, but he was able to equalize in the goal from that penalty mark. And then Torres takes the lead, and the funny thing is, Guirassy scores quickly after. It's like some sort of chess match. Then eventually the winner comes, this time from Ferran Torres. Really good finish, really calm and composed. In the 85th minute, going through one goal. And Barcelona get a 3-2 win. And, it's never easy to go away to Signal Iduna Park or Weidenwelle Stadium, whatever you want to call it, and get a victory. That's very difficult. And this is sorry, technical difficulties. But I was saying, is overall, really impressed with Barcelona. Borussia Dortmund, they have some problems. They are sitting 6th place in the Bundesliga. They're already 12 points off the title. We expected them to be competing entering this season. In the Champions League, not horrible. They're a point off automatic position, so they just need to really hang in there. Borussia Dortmund does. But yeah, there's some problems in that camp. And Nuri Sahin needs to figure it out, or he might be out of a job, knowing Borussia Dortmund and how they operate. Manchester City lose yes again. This time it's Juventus. First of all, Juventus, yeah, they are a big club. But this is a Juventus team that's fallen off the glory based on what we've seen of them in the past. You look at the starting lineup. De Gregory on goal. Sabona, Kati, Kalulu, Danilo. In midfield, Locatelli, Thuram, Yildiz, Kopenheimer, French Caicedo, or Cancelo. That's not that great of a Juventus team. That really is not that great of a Juventus team. So let's not let that fool. You compare that to City and the fact that they had Doku, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Grealish, Haaland, Guardiola, Ruben Diaz, Kyle Walker, Ederson. This is, players that are at least supposedly at a world-class level. They're not playing at that level right now, and some of them are getting old, like Kyle Walker, who got done yet again. Look, there's major concerns because we're talking about the title race and how that's slipping away. That's looking like it's over. Liverpool they win on they win with their extra game in hand. That's an 11-point gap already. It's almost a lost cause. If you're a City fan, and then you see what you're doing in the Champions League, you might be out of that too. They're sitting 22nd. They're at 8 points. They're 1 point away from being 26 with Stuttgart. Their outlook in terms of moving on into the next round looks very, very bleak. It looks very, very alarming. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Let's just read the standings real quick before we end off this. Segment. Liverpool sitting in first with 18th point. Barcelona second with 15. And then third is Arsenal. These are a bunch of teams with 13 points, but tiebreakers. Third is Arsenal, 13 points, but have a 9-goal differential. Then Leverkusen with 13 points. Villa was also with 13 points. Inter was also with 13 points at 6. Brest was 13 points as well as 7th. And then the last automatic qualification is 8th place, which is Lille, who also have 8 points. Who also have 13 points, and I've been really, really impressed with them, what they've done this season in the Champions League, the football that they've played. Dortmund is sitting 9th with 12 points. Bayern 10th with 12 points. Atletico Madrid 3rd with 12 points. And Milan, Atletico Madrid 12 with 12 points. Milan with 12 points. Atalanta with 11 points at 13. Juventus at 11 points with 14. And then Benfica at 15th place with 10 points. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss whether or not the Ravens can catch the Steelers.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed today's Champions League fixtures. We move on to discuss the Baltimore Ravens. So the Baltimore Ravens, they're in a fight right now. They're sitting second place in the AFC North. Look, they're gonna get into the playoffs. Let's get that out of the way. They will get in. They're a wild card team. So let's forget that. Can they catch the Steelers? The Steelers are right now 2 games above them with the tiebreaker. The Steelers have the tiebreaker. Earlier on this season, the Steelers took on earlier this season, the Steelers took on the Baltimore Ravens, and they finished with the record of they have a they won that game, and they also have a division record of 3-1 with Baltimore having 2-2. So it's looking more likely than not, and that will change because look, of the Ravens. Number one, if the Ravens want to catch up with the Pittsburgh Steelers, first thing first, Baltimore has to win that second Steelers tie, which will come Saturday, December 21st. So not this game, this Sunday coming up, but the following Saturday. It's going to be a Saturday game. I believe that game, I have no idea what network is carrying that game. But it'll be big, because then that will be the Steelers' second loss. The head-to-head will be 1-1. I think the third tiebreaker then when it comes to division is division record. The division record would also be will also be tight. Then it will really come down to how certain things fall the enter of the way, but it will give the Ravens a chance to have that tiebreaker. But 2 games to cover up is big, especially and if you compare the 2 schedules, so Pittsburgh has the big one coming up this week against Eagles, and they also play the Ravens, and then they play the Chiefs, then they play the Bengals. That's 4 competitive games. I say 3 really, really competitive games, and then a Bengals team that could make it competitive against everybody. But they're still a 5-8 team. Baltimore has a slightly easier schedule. They have Giants, Steelers, Texans, and Browns. In my opinion, they should, go at least 3-1 in those games. And they should beat the Texans. The Texans have looked poor this season. They should beat the Giants because the Giants are bad. And then they should beat the Browns because, Jameis Winston, he can play some, he can play some good football here and there. But he'll also give the other team an opportunity to win the game with the turnovers and with his inability to protect the football. He'll throw you into the game and then he'll throw you right out of it. That's the story of Jameis Winston, and it really depends on what Jameis Winston we see, what Browns team we see. That is week 18, so maybe the Browns put everything on their line to get that last win. I still love how the Browns, despite them being out of it, they've played so hard. They played some really good games. I thought they played a great game against the Denver Broncos. They just got on the losing side, and sometimes it happens. But the fight, the character, the personality, the spirit, you're a coach, you're a GM, all that ownership group. You're proud of that team that you saw, because they're playing meaningful games, but they're playing it with almost like a desperation, like they have something to play for, a higher objective than just winning football games. And usually that higher perspective is, Super Bowl, playoffs, all that. You have realistic outlooks to play in those sort of big time moments. This team doesn't. They continue to play extremely, extremely hard. I'm really, really, really proud of that. Or I'm not proud of it, but Browns fans should be really proud of it. Going back to what I was saying, though, can the Baltimore Ravens catch the Pittsburgh Steelers? Very difficult. Very difficult. And the schedule does favor the Ravens. Steelers had an easier schedule earlier on this season, not the greatest schedule earlier on this season. So now that's coming back to, make them pay, because now some of their hard fixtures are coming up at the end. But they also have the tiebreaker over the Ravens as of now, and they have, they've developed this running game that's very, very efficient with Derrick Henry. By the way, I saw Derrick Henry. He cut off the dreads. He went, he got cut. He was getting cornrows. So we're going to see, we're not going to see the dreads sticking out from Derrick Henry, which almost became his trademark almost in the NFL. But yeah, we're not going to see that. The way that they can run it, how great of football Lamar is playing, but they're just coming up short in these games. I thought Lamar and his frustrations after this Philadelphia Eagles game in the press conference saying, it makes me mad. I'm frustrated because we have what it takes. We're being, we have the answers. We're just not being able to figure it out of these games. Sometimes when their offense is struggling, they really struggle. They struggle to get any sort of production. And it seems like the whole walls close in and the cave is falling down. And when that happens, nobody's able to rise Baltimore out of that funk in those situations. You saw some of these losses that they suffered, last year to the Chiefs, the way they lost to the Titans. Actually, the Titans loss was a weird one. That was a couple years ago. But how they lost to the Bills and all that. It's the similar situation on how everything closed in and they just didn't have the ability to climb out of there, to climb out of the hole that they were in. Just even if Baltimore wins the division, I don't see how, they win the 3 playoff games to get them to where they're trying to go, and that is the Super Bowl. I think the Steelers, they have a realistic outfit to do that because of the defense. They have no holes in the defense like Ravens do, and they have an opportunistic quarterback with an experienced head coach and a quarterback that can push the ball down the field. Yeah, Lamar Jackson can push the ball down the field, and you do have the experience of a guy like, John Harbaugh running the Ravens, but just lose belief in them in certain moments. And I don't know. That's actually a difficult one. Can the Steelers drop enough games? Let's say the Steelers drop, the Chiefs Ravens game. Will that put Baltimore in it? It'll give Baltimore a chance depending on how tiebreakers go, as long as Baltimore finish perfect. But then there's that Steelers-Eagles game as well. That's also going to be a big, big one this Sunday. I'm really looking forward to that. I love the fact that it's on at 3:25 and it's in Philadelphia, which means it's going to be almost a prime time afternoon game because it gets darker there. I'm so looking forward to that. I think we're going to have the first team unit. I want to see Philadelphia Eagles passing game, how they decide to go about it, now going up against Minkah Fitzpatrick in the Steelers secondary. Do we see more in the passing game after A.J. Brown represented frustration, or does the Steelers defense have something to say about A.J. Brown? Yeah, that'll be very, very interesting. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll react to the NBA Cup quarterfinals. NBA Cup quarterfinals happened in the past 2 days, and I have to say I loved the intensity and the playoff-like feel atmosphere in all 4 games. This is why, in my opinion, I would love to take the full NBA Cup, other than the final, because you want the final to be in a neutral place, yes. But everything else, take them out of a neutral venue. Don't play any games play it at the stadiums and the fans, the hard-paying fans that go in game out, because those are the fans that are going to be extremely passionate about their team winning an in-season tournament game. I thought in Las Vegas it was so plastic and so just unauthentic seeing them play at T-Mobile Arena, and I thought the atmosphere was pretty dead. I thought the basketball played was pretty good, and the effort was a great thing because it's not always a given that basketball players give effort on a court, especially in a court that doesn't really have much effect on them in regards to winning an NBA, finals or anything like that. It was an in-season tournament, but the players, they gave it everything they got. There was a high intensity. You saw the Warriors-Rockets game. Rockets, they haven't won. They haven't beat the Warriors since Westbrook and James Harden was on that Rockets team starting together. It's been since before COVID. That's or since COVID. That's crazy. The Rockets have never beat the Warriors since then. They've, to snap a multiple year skid against the Warriors, a team that's had the psychological advantage over them for a long time, while now in the playoffs as well, to get that win, in the way that they did too as well. I thought it was a back and forth game, a lot of lead changes, and then at the end, Steph Curry takes a horrible shot with 12 seconds left. Really made no sense to me. Allowed the opportunity for the Rockets to end up eventually fighting for the rebound, and on a loose ball, Kuminga going for it, trying to get a jump ball, getting called for a foul, which I thought it was harsh by the referee, giving a foul and that a moment to decide the game at that time, to blow the whistle. As a referee, what you want to do is you want to make sure you are not the star of the show. You have no impact. And obviously at the end of the day, it comes down to the right call, but are we definitive in saying that was the clear-cut decision? It was a clear and obvious foul by Kuminga. See, Kuminga gets a few hands on the ball. Yes, there's contact, but this is the National Basketball Association. There's always going to be contact, and I didn't like it. I think jump ball would have been the fair and more logical thing to do in that situation, because you could talk about this and that all you want, but maybe in early in the second quarter that's a foul and all that, sure, but in that moment to decide that game at that time, with 3 seconds left, to blow it out a whistle with the Rockets team with the Warriors team that had no fouls to give, and essentially give the Rockets the lifeline to get the victory there. And then it was with 3 seconds left, it being almost very, very unlikely for the Golden State to get the victory. I don't know, but it was fabulous. The Hawks came back from down behind. They were down early on in the first half in this one, but the runs that they were able to make, Trae Young, he really does own New York. 22-11, a really, really solid out game for him. The way they bounced back as well, and then once they got the lead, the run they went on the third quarter to take over, and how comfortable they looked down the stretch as well. How Trae Young is doing skips in front of the New York fans. You always love those rivalries. I was so impressed with the New York Knicks. Extremely impressed with them. With the Atlanta Hawks. OKC gets the win over the Mavericks. Last year they played in the playoffs. OKC won game 1 again. This time it's in the in-season tournament, and OKC wins. No Chet Holmgren, of course. He's still out. But a solid production, 39 points from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and then players like Jalen Williams and Logan Stewart and Harvenstein, Kaysen Wallace joining in, and yeah, it was just comfortable. I never thought it was in doubt in that second half. I thought OKC was comfortably the better team. They went on that run in that third quarter, that 14-point run in that third quarter to really extend OKC's lead, and then OKC, they eventually were able to close on. And yeah, look, OKC, they play the best best basketball when they're all completely healthy. It's hard to think any team, yes, obviously there's always the Boston Celtics, which is a super beyond super team. But this Oklahoma City team, they have swagger, they have continuity, they have talent, they have a good backbone, they're really well coached. I don't know, man. I don't know. Bucks took out the Magic. Another really good game, that one. The Magic, they're missing key superstars like Balabanchero and Franz Wagner, but their defense was able to keep them in. The Bucks, Milwaukee, they had wasn't able to keep the Magics in it down the stretch. And then they got solid production out of Suggs, who was able to get 32 points. Black came off the bench as well to give you 17. 17. He was 50% from the field. By the way, how he can impact the game as a point guard who can't shoot, I think that should be that's very, very interesting. Yeah, he's 6'7", which does give you an advantage. And I've seen him play actually in person. I saw him play at a couple of high school games. He played out of Duncanville, which is a big high school in the DFW area in terms of basketball. I think he's a really, really good player. But they lost out, their main offensive guys. But with the combination of solid defensive production from the entire team, they're one of the best defensive teams in the league. And then with the combination of that, and then what they got out of Gogo Bedites, Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black, Jeff Howard, was able to keep them in the game. But it was the Bucks that prevailed. Giannis, 37-7. Damian Lillard coming up big in these sort of games as well. 28 points in 29 minutes. Chris Middleton, he's really been struggling to get it going. He played 20 minutes, but he only shot the ball twice. One of it was a 3. He did dish out 8 assists as well and got 4 rebounds or 3 steals. He's still easing himself into it, and he deserves patience because he's gone through a lot. Thank you guys, though, for tuning into the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to